Hello and welcome to Luminate Finals 2021. I'm Sujatha Ramanujan, Managing Director of Luminate, coming to you from our Rochester, New York headquarters. Luminate attracts entrepreneurs from around the US and around the world. We work with these founders to further their technologies and to provide the mentoring, training, and access to funding that can help them run and scale their businesses. We're proud to team up with Optica again this year to bring Finals 2021 to an international stage. You may have noticed Optica as a new name. They're the newly rebranded Optical Society. While their name has changed, their mission remains aligned with our own, to advance optics through talent, innovation, and opportunity in ways that can solve the problems of today and tomorrow. Last year, in the face of a global pandemic, we took our pitch competition online to share these exciting technologies with more people in more countries. Entrepreneurs, industry, investors, customers, research, student, and the general public are included. You all will get to see firsthand how these groundbreaking innovations will truly change the world. Today, we'll showcase 10 teams working on industry-first inventions that harness optics, photonics, and imaging technologies, or OPI for short. They've worked so hard these past months to accelerate their progress. Today, they're bidding for up to $2 million in follow-on funding. Remember, you can also vote for your favorite to help the winner of the Audience Choice Award take home $10,000. This is a momentous day for these businesses. It marks their graduation from the largest OPI accelerator on Earth. All 10 will remain within Luminate's portfolio and ecosystem. That's the vision of the Empire State Development's Finger Lakes Forward initiative. This is to give them more promising ideas and people a place to succeed within the optics capital of the world. Throughout today's program, you'll also get top business tips from our industry leaders who mentor our startups. We have an exciting panel discussion on diversity and women in entrepreneurship and science too. And for those who are interested in being part of our 5th cohort, we have a post-event session on how to apply to Luminate. But first, here's a quick overview of what goes on at the Luminate Accelerator. Luminate is both an accelerator and an investment fund. There's this huge ecosystem that they can be a part of. We grow here, we bring in more technologies, we bring in more businesses. We bring in a diversity of people and engage them with all that this region has to offer from an optics and photonics perspective.
We wanted this to be the biggest accelerator in the world for optics and imaging.
How do we build a standalone company that's no longer a startup, but really like a technology enabler company? That's what Luminate enabled us to do. Get us in contact with the right people for manufacturing from optics. Being partnered with them was a phenomenal experience, to say the least.
I've been around the optics space, applying it to different markets. You don't see a lot of facilities like this, and this is really unique.
We identify 10 early-stage startup companies from all over the world. We bring those 10 companies in, invest $100,000 into them because they have such great ideas.
If you're an optics or photonics company, there's no other accelerator out there that can match what Luminate can do.
In 6 months, they go from being a really cool tech concept, early stage startup, to really a functioning business.
Luminate has helped us extend our contact base to the right people at the right time and make sure that the support mechanisms that we can bring to bear in the community are maximized, and that's invaluable.
We have that much faith that the company's great, and it's going to grow, and it's going to hire people.
Luminate has a full roster of experts who come in to teach us about different things to help structure your business. This goes with some of the stuff which is literally very operational, which has to do with how do you deal with HR issues, how do you recruit the right people.
We have an enormous amount of infrastructure here. I think that's why Rochester will succeed in this optical photonics and imaging initiative.
We put further investment into one or more of the companies, up to $1 million into a single company. It's going to return both financially as well as economically.
If you have an investment community and a critical mass of startup companies, it becomes very sustainable for a long period of time.
Some of the technologies that these folks are working on could have some pretty significant impact on the world. All entrepreneurs have to do is come here and start working. From co-working to offices. We've got wet labs for people that need laboratories. We've got prototyping shop with 3D printers and laser cutters.
You come here and you're part of something. You're part of a community that will help you financially. It will help you with your overall satisfaction with your business. I'd like to take a moment now to introduce you to Liz Rogan, CEO of Optica, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C. Liz Rogan has been the CEO of Optica since 2002 and served as the organization's chief operating officer before that. She's built a stellar reputation within the association as someone who listens to constituents and takes a genuine interest in their ideas. Liz has also guided Optica's remarkable growth. Please welcome Liz Rogan.
Hi, we extend our congratulations to Illuminate for hosting its 4th annual Startup Accelerator Finals competition. And we are very proud to sponsor this event again this year. While we all hoped to be together in person soon, hosting this online this year does make it accessible to our international live audience. Illuminate makes important contributions to both the recognition and the promotion of new optics and photonics companies in our community. And there couldn't be a more exciting time to be in this community, from healthcare to renewable energy, auto manufacturing, consumer products, and even the study of exoplanets. It takes the contributions of everybody in our community, very much like what Luminate is doing. We also want to extend our congratulations to all of the startup companies that participated in this program for your entrepreneurship and your hard work. You bring great, fresh ideas and a dedication that our community needs just to thrive. As a technical society, we have supported the science of light for over a century. And as we await the Illuminate program, as you've heard, we have some news of our own. An organization that was known as the Optical Society of America, or OSA, for over a century, we have been renamed as Optica. So why did we need a new name? While our mission has stayed firmly in place for over a century, since 1916, the leaders of our organization have been paying attention for over 30 years on how the brand didn't fit the organization any longer. In 2008, the board made a decision to drop in America, so we were known as OSA, the Optical Society. But we found that slight change wasn't enough to really reflect the global reach of the organization, nor the future growth of the organization. We serve over 432,000 customers in over 180 countries. Our leadership and staff are excited to serve you under our new brand. I encourage you to visit optica.org to learn more about the change. And now we'll share a short video introducing Optica, formerly known as OSA. Thank you.
Before we introduce our 10 finalists, I have a few words of thanks. First, to Governor Hochul for her continuing support of our region's vibrant high-tech economy. She's a phenomenal advocate for Luminate and for our industry. Next, a big thank you to Empire State Development and the Finger Lakes Forward Initiative for making Luminate New York possible. To Luminate's advisory board for all of its support and insight. They are Jennifer Bunis, Milton Chang, Stu Elby, Steve Fantone, Don Galini, Mike Jackman, Jay Kumler, Duncan Moore, Ryan Ravelli, Darius Sankey, Jim Sinal, and Linda Smith. And to our esteemed panelists and industry experts, some of whom you'll meet in a little bit later. Finally, thanks to our principal academic partners, the University of Rochester and the Rochester Institute of Technology, both vital collaborators in our work. During the next hour, we'll introduce you to 10 extraordinary companies that have taken part in the Luminate program during 2021. Each finalist will share a quick overview video of their technology and its potential impact. In the days leading up to this event, a diverse panel of judges reviewed the work of each company and scored them on a base set criteria. Today concludes that effort with an awarding of follow-on funding. You'll also have a chance to direct funding by voting for your favorite company. So please make sure to note those of interest that interest you and text in response when we open up to voting out towards the end of today's event. We'll cover 5 teams and a few tips first, and then we'll break for the panel discussion, and then finish with the remaining 5 teams before getting to the voting and the winning announcements. If you'd like to follow along or get more information on our companies and speakers today, you can download the program located under your viewing screen. Every single team has worked so hard this year, and each one has already received some investment funding. Truth is, each one has more need than we have readily provided, so we're going to do some follow-on funding. It's been a joy to get to know them all, and I have no doubt we'll be hearing great things about them in the years to come. First up, we have Two Eyes Vision, based in Madrid, Spain, Spain's capital, home to the Golden Triangle of Art and a global hub for commerce. Two Eyes Vision specializes in the creation of novel ophthalmic technologies with emphasis on presbyopia, an ocular condition that affects 100% of the population over 45 years old.
Our company's name is Two Eyes Vision, and we're a Spanish company. We have an optical device, a headset, that simulates various types of multifocal corrections so that patients considering undergoing cataract surgery can make an informed choice about the lens that they want to get implanted. There are many different types of lenses, and each one provides a different vision type. We take real commercial designs, we take their data and incorporate that to our system so that what the patient is seeing matches the real IOL expectations from those commercial lenses. And the system has been fully designed to be used in a clinical environment since its conception. It's very simple. You adjust it to a patient's head, adjust the interpupillary distance, and make sure that the system is aligned. And then it is controlled with a tablet. With this tablet, we have an app created that can send different lenses to each eye and try in less than 10 minutes the different alternatives that they have. Our technology is better than the current existing options in the market, mainly because it is the only technology in the world that allows a patient to experience the real world through multifocal corrections before they are implanted. And additionally, we are also the only device available that provides binocular vision. This is especially relevant because we see with both eyes. There are different corrections that consist in placing one lens in one eye and another lens in another eye. So we are the most versatile device in the market. This is a really cutting-edge technology. It will improve the lives of millions of people by allowing and screening more patients, identifying more patients that can benefit from multifocal corrections, and would also potentially help lens manufacturers create new optimized designs that better match the expectations and the quality of life of their patients and the general people. We have to take into account that this is something that affects 100% of the population above 45 years old. The Luminate cohort, it pushes you to improve and motivates you to keep improving and actually learn from what others are doing. You can always mirror yourself in their challenges and see how they are solving them. This continuous training allows you to keep learning and leverage that new knowledge on your company so that you can maximize your chances of success. In the next years, we expect to have worldwide presence in the main markets, have a solid and established and optimized distribution network, and incorporate new products to our product portfolio.
And Luca Technologies is from Princeton, New Jersey, home to legendary Ivy League university and a popular setting in literature, film, and TV. In fact, and Luca is a Princeton University spin-out, whose first product, a wireless smart glass system, uses transparent UV solar to provide in-window power to dynamically tint glass.
There's a big need right now in terms of climate action to address buildings. About 80% of windows in the US need to be replaced or renovated. And Luca Technologies is developing a transparent solar coating for use in wireless smart glass. We use this technology to enable wireless smart glass, which is very helpful for existing buildings, which make up about 40% of the carbon footprint of the US. We're converting ultraviolet light into useful electricity, and there's a lot of things you can do with converting UV light to power in architectural glass. Some of the functions that you can enable within window power are sensing, so you have intelligence of what's going on in the environment, and how can I use that information to improve the energy efficiency of the building and the comfort of the occupants in the building. Through industry partnership, we can address architectural glass renovations. So the end user is a building owner or a long-term tenant, like a Fortune 500 company. And the partners in that are going to be architectural firms, engineers that are doing those renovations. So there's this great opportunity to add smart glass functionality while we do these improvements that can increase the operational efficiency of these buildings, lend to the interconnectivity that we're aiming to have to operate more intelligently. Being selected for Illuminate was very exciting for our team. The Illuminate program is helpful doing deep dives on both technology and business, looking at everything from your intellectual property strategy, existing portfolio, and how to move that forward, to actual manufacturing resources and partners and personnel, to your investment strategy. And there's a commitment to get you where you need to go. We have an opportunity to light a match and accelerate smart functionality and the incentives to improve your windows.
It's time for our first top tip from Dr. Darius Sankey, who is a founder and managing director of Innovation Acceleration Capital and a seasoned executive in the venture capital and technology industries.
Hello, everyone. So intellectual property is a very important component for creating value in a startup. CEOs and CTOs should consider the entire value chain when thinking of their IP strategy, not just defending their product. If they do that, they will be in a position to create up to 2 or 3x the value of an exit. And it's important to think about how you integrate with your suppliers, your distributors, and your end market as you develop your IP strategy. We help companies at Illuminate do this, and every CEO and CTO should be considering a broader range of IP strategies and prosecution strategies when developing it to create this value. We hope that you enjoy the program. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from Dinocardia from Cambridge, Massachusetts, home to numerous prestigious academic institutions, and Kendall Square, renowned for its startup community. Dinocardia Vitrac is the first cuffless wrist-wearable technology to offer direct beat-to-beat measurement of blood pressure with the accuracy of interarterial lines.
Dinocardia is developing a new technology to measure blood pressure. The technology is a wrist-wearable device which somebody can wear. The device will be able to provide you accurate blood pressure continuously. Our technology can change the way actually measure blood pressure and manage blood pressure, which is the #1 cause for mortality across the globe. All the current technologies, they measure blood pressure inaccurately. The reason being, they don't directly measure pressure in the blood vessel. We have come up with a fundamentally new method which actually measures blood pressure directly, that is non-invasively, from a large blood vessel. First, we built a unique camera-based sensor, which is an optomechanical sensor, which is 100 times more sensitive than a fingertip. The information from the device can be remotely monitored because all the data will be also captured in a cloud-based server. Then we come up with a very proprietary method by which we can directly measure maximum pressure in the vessel, that is your systolic blood pressure, and your baseline pressure in your blood vessel, that's your diastolic blood pressure. Our device has application in multiple markets. Can be used in hospitals, clinics, can be used at home for people to monitor the blood pressure, or it could be as a wearable device, like a watch type device. We can enable what is called predictive monitoring, that is able to predict an acute event before it happens. That is the future of monitoring. Our technology can enable it. One of the biggest challenges for us is how do we miniaturize the technology and make it more commercially viable? Luminate was extremely helpful to show us the path from R&D to product development to commercialization. 3 minutes with one of the mentors that Luminate has provided has saved us 3 months of work. As a cardiac surgeon, I can have a major impact on individual patient's life. With the technology we are developing, we can have a major impact in communities across the globe.
Up next, we have Infrascreen from Neu Chatel, Switzerland, with some of the most exquisite architecture in Europe and a prehistory that dates back to 13,000 BC. Infrascreen manufactures low-E film adapted to energy saving in high-tech greenhouses. It is the future of pesticide-free, sustainable, affordable fruit and vegetable farming.
The problem that needs to be solved is to help high-tech greenhouses consume less energy. We need to help them increase the energy efficiency of their greenhouses. We at Infrascreen believe that our technology will be pivotal in helping the industry shift towards less CO2 emissions, less energy consumed. The technology that we've developed is an innovative material that we use as a cover in the greenhouse in order for the greenhouse to better retain radiative energy inside without impairing the photosynthesis of the crops. We use nanophotonics in order to selectively filter natural radiations, meaning that the greenhouse better leverages natural radiations for its energy efficiency. Our technology is used by growers in order to consume less energy, but our technology benefits each and every one of us because it means that we consume less energy, we emit less CO2 in order to produce better food.
So the future of our technology in the field of filtering infrared is really to improve product, to have mass adoption, and therefore it's possible to go all year long without any CO2 emissions.
Luminate is not just a one-time experience. It's a relationship that we believe will continue even after we've left the program. Being with people that understand nanophotonics, access to team, resources, expertise, knowledge is absolutely tremendously valuable to us. The paths that we can explore with our technology in the field of high-tech greenhouses are endless, and we have so many new products that we would like to bring to the market.
Generating sales is one of the hardest things to do for all companies. We're grateful to Karen Mezzalella for this next tip. Karen is an expert in sales and commercialization and is the Business Acceleration Manager and Business Strategist at Dawnbreaker, Inc.
Hello, and congratulations to all the Luminate finalists. This morning, I'm going to talk about how to make that first sales call, but more importantly, how to make it very high value for you and your potential customer. Number one, starting from the start, know your yearly revenue target. This is essential. Number two, know your niche market. Stay laser focused on it. Do not get distracted. You don't have the time. You're making a high-tech solution sale. So typically to close a sale, you need to have a very good first call and follow-on calls. So you need to carefully mind your time. If you're distracted outside of your niche market, you won't have that market value add to make that call valuable. So if your friend's uncle has a guy, if that guy is not in your niche market, do the guy a favor and yourself and stay focused on potential clients that are. Third, Select and prioritize your top 5 to 10 targets by revenue potential and likelihood to close in your fiscal year. Once you select a target, you're not a cold caller, you're a solution provider. Prepare for that first call. Know what's happening in their market. Know how the market trends are affecting that target customer specifically. Are they recently in the news? And prepare some insightful openings. After your friendly introduction, you need to capture them quickly. People are very busy. For example, after introducing yourself, you might say to even on your first call, you've enjoyed a third position in the marketplace for 2 years. What if you could reduce costs by 40%? Could that increase your sales by 25% or more? And pause. Get them leaning in. If you've got them leaning in and they're interested, your next job is to prepare a planning meeting with that contact with everyone necessary present. Okay, so it's just not that contact. It might be finance, it might be their IT department, all the decision makers enabled. Try to get that planning call to include everyone because you need to move fast to close. People get distracted. If you had a great first call, you need to keep that momentum strong with a strong planning meeting, bringing in everyone else that needs to agree to that close. Finally, please reprioritize your targets. Think about using something simple like color. Blue might mean verbal commit. Verbal commit means you need to get that contract signed. Green means they have the money and the desire to move this fiscal. Yellow is they don't have the money yet or maybe aren't ready to move this fiscal year. And then red is dead. You need to understand when it's dead. Don't keep going back to someone that's not interested because you have to move forward. And then finally, just remember to stay focused on your market, focused on your target, and focused on your revenue goals. This will help success from the very first sales call onward. Again, congratulations to all the finalists and my best wishes for good luck in the future. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Karen. Now we'll hear from LayerMetrics, Inc. It's based in Wilmington, Delaware, and known for its waterfront historic neighborhoods and as a sought-after destination for corporate headquarters. LayerMetrics is enabling reliable metal additive manufacturing by certifying part integrity, layer by layer, during the build process for everything from medical marvels to space exploration.
LayerMetrics makes integrated optical monitoring systems for metal printing. Metal printing is a volatile process. You have high-power laser melting small powders, forming thin layers. Some examples of metal printing are medical implants such as knee replacements, hip joints, also mission-critical components for aircrafts, heat exchangers for the energy.
The problem with the metal printing industry is that you need to sometimes print 5 to 10 of the object that you want before you get one good one. So yield rates are really low.
Currently, each build parameter needs its own scientific instrument. This solution is data heavy and fragmented.
Talking to the industry and listening to what they need, they wanted all of this data collected together on a single instrument.
Our system is inline, real-time, synchronized data, compact data set.
Not only can you see if something went wrong, you can see what went wrong and why it went wrong. That enables corrective action. You can intervene during the process.
It's a game changer in manufacturing that's not being fully exploited. Luminate is an accelerator very different to many other accelerators. They offer you help and support and guidance on growing your business.
Everything from dealing with human resource issues to planning out your finances to accessing your customers. We've had great help on pitch development.
The curriculum that Luminate have scheduled provides you with resources that are critical for any startup company. metal printing manufacturing with our adaptive closed-loop control processing, enabling all the information. It will accelerate market growth and increase market adoption,
which is really critical for advancing the metal printing industry.
Let's move on to Mesodyne from Summerville, Massachusetts, a city rich in culture. From an independent film festival to the Museum of Bad Art, this city has seen a renaissance since the 1990s, thanks in part to the technology boom. Mesodyne is developing a compact power generator that converts fuel to electricity via light. It operates on any fuel and has 10 times the energy density of lithium-ion batteries.
The drone market is one of the fastest growing markets today, and the main problem today with drones is actually the ability to power them for long periods of time. At Mesodyne, we're building a new kind of power generator that enables portable power generation that's efficient anywhere, anytime, and from any fuel. One of our products is a drone range extender that enables currently a fixed-wing drone to fly up to 10 times longer than with batteries alone.
What excites us about photonics is that we're using the photonic crystal to control light to solve a practical, real-world application. What the photonic crystal does is it mediates the energy flow from fuel to heat to light and then to electricity, and it allows that to happen efficiently.
There's no solution available today that provides long endurance power. Batteries that are available and they're good for short endurance applications. But if you need something that's going to last days, there's really only larger scale solutions that are available.
We saw a lot of commercial potential in a small, portable, compact power generator.
Currently, Mesodyne is more focused on military applications, but in the future, our goal is to be able to go after the commercial drone market, the commercial backup power generation market, and really be the premium provider for efficient portable power generation anywhere, anytime, and from any fuel.
Veronica and I are still using the same academic cleanrooms at MIT to do the microfabrication of this photonic crystal. And what Luminate is doing is helping us get out of the academic cleanrooms and move to a commercial manufacturable process. And this cost reduction will really let Mesodyne enter more commercial consumer markets, which are very cost sensitive compared to the military and industrial markets that we are serving now. We see Mesodyne becoming the go-to solution for ultra-high energy density power, and that's from drones to wearables to remote industrial sites and a host of other applications.
It's an impressive lineup so far. Thanks and good luck to each of you. Let's take a few moments now to explore the subject of diversity and women entrepreneurship and science. Please welcome our panelists. Dr. Susan Hood-Walter received her doctorate at the Institute of Optics, University of Rochester, and later co-founded LaserMax Defense. She's inventor and co-inventor on 26 patents. Dr. Manjari Chandranamesh is a deep tech and software venture investor at IP Group. She has a PhD from the University of Oxford, where she was a Rhodes Scholar, and she specialized in machine learning and mobile robotics. Marsha Lesky is a Senior Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Volunteer Cultivation at Optica. She works to cultivate a diverse and dynamic pool of volunteers and members. Marsha holds a Master's in Science from Johns Hopkins University. And Leslie Kimmerling is co-founder and CEO of Double Helix Optics, winner of the 2018 Luminate competition. She holds an MBA from the Anderson School at UCLA, an MA in Economics from Stanford University, and a BA in Economics from the University of Pennsylvania. Welcome, panelists. Now, let's get started. As Leslie and Susan, this one's directed to the two of you, as CEOs in the optics and tech space, can you tell me about the most difficult challenges you faced when you were starting your business? Were your challenges unique or compounded by gender? And if yes, how so? So I'm going to start with Susan.
Sure. Well, you know, it's always money, right? Cash is king, always. And at the beginning, when we started a long, long time ago, we started in the basement, but then, you have to grow. And so there was rent at a facility and salaries, and we're developing products and so on. And then there were, you simply just have to have cash for that. We had to have accountants, lawyers, HR support. By the way, this is where Illuminate really just shines. For new companies to have that help is just fantastic. From a position of being a female, I was the breadwinner at the beginning, just because money was tight for salaries. So I brought home the bacon in my family. But I was also writing business plans, at 2 and 3 in the morning, trying to get tenure. I was a professor at the University of Rochester. And we had a new baby, and only I could do the breastfeeding. And so I think that for females, depending on where you are, stage of life, you can get stretched very thin. And starting a new business is really all consuming.
Leslie? I can't hear you, Leslie.
Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I was wanting to echo what Susan said. The top of my list was access to resources. When starting a deep tech technology like many of the companies that Luminate supports, these companies don't necessarily fit the traditional VC hockey stick. And so you're required to be more creative in how you resource the business. And I guess, was this challenge compounded by gender? I don't know. It might be more about the venture investment model versus engineering than about being a woman. But perhaps my greatest challenge was actually on the personal level, was when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At the same time, Double Helix was getting close to the launch of its first product. And the question that arose was, how do you take care of yourself and the business? But as a woman, there was also this external fear that investors and business partners and customers would lose faith in the company because I, as a woman CEO with cancer, is that perceived as a weak leader? So did gender compound my fears? Most certainly it did with respect to the external world, but I'm very proud to say with my team, it didn't.
Great. Manjari. From an investor's perspective, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing startup CEOs? And are any of those specific to women or more common to women founders?
So as a deep tech investor who looks for platform technologies and the likes of what Leslie has spoken about, I see a number of founders who are able to articulate brilliantly the technical differentiation of their offering. However, to then translate that into what the value proposition is for the customer, that is quite a challenge. Each market, has a different value proposition, which the technical differentiation could well solve for that customer. So I don't think this is specific to women founders, but that journey of identifying the pain point for the customer and hence the customer's return on investment, if they are to be convinced to spend on the product, is I think one of the biggest challenges in that startup phase.
Great. I'm going to ask another question of you, Manjari, and that is at Luminate, we get a good representation of women and minority founders. However, we do see women and minorities founding struggling a little bit to obtain that seed funding and consequently staffing. Have you seen this too in your seed and early stage startups?
Unfortunately, to a large extent, yes. Further in my experience, what I have found is all women teams are actually even worse than the ones that are perhaps 50-50. Personally, I think a common factor has been the lack of network, the lack of advisors and mentors who you can have on speed dial. For some reason, that is not always there. That's the reason why accelerators and other organizations like Luminate can help so much more than just starting off on your own.
So I'm going to direct this next question at Marcia. Sometimes the lack of staffing and funding are tied to a founders network, just like Manjari said. So I want to ask you how you see industry representation in organizations like Optica, and what efforts are being made to better integrate women into the overall field and organizations supporting OPI, providing them with the opportunities to grow their networks and therefore their opportunities and funding.
Well, you know, professional societies like Optica can really provide two things that are crucial for entrepreneurs: visibility and networking. We have programs that help facilitate engagement for women and other underrepresented communities in both these areas. We have grants and scholarships for students to facilitate entry into the optics field, like the new $1 million Women in Optics Scholarship we have. And that includes mentoring and an alumni network to help build that community and build those relationships. We have special programs like the Susan Nagel Lounge at OFC or meetups at our congresses where that facilitate networking. At our Women in Biophotonics meetup, I had one young woman tell me it was her first time attending a meeting and she knew no one there, and was so thankful to have this kind of start to the meeting where she had this informal ability to talk to people and network. But we also look for opportunities to highlight people in optics and women in optics, whether through the website or OPN, our monthly magazine, or even programs like our Innovation School, where I know Leslie spoke after she was the big winner of this in 2018. You know, I encourage everyone to look for and take advantage of opportunities professional societies like Optica have to offer, participate in these special events, volunteer, or reach out to people like me with ideas of your own.
So Susan, you established your presence in the very traditional industry of security and military applications. Based on your wealth of experience, what would you say are some of the key characteristics needed to penetrate the industry? And can you speak to your own personal characteristics to help you succeed?
Well, I guess, you know, it's like Munji said, you have to build an organization, of course, right? And you have to provide value to your customers. But you have to establish credibility to be listened to. And I think that for us, I mean, we worked in B2B, which was probably the easiest, B2C, because law enforcement buys through retail channels. So we had to work with distributors in retail. And then also B2G, which is government customers. So you have to work with basically the troops and also the bureaucracy that supplies and trains the troops, but also Congress, which funnels the money for the programs. And so that's a complicated piece. I would say for retail, the challenging part for me was that for the work that we did with police, we had to work in the firearms industry. And that's a very macho industry, as you can imagine. And it was challenging for me at first because it was kind of anti-intellectual, to be candid. And a PhD was actually a liability. I learned not to refer to my education. I had to build credibility on a different basis. So I became an NRA instructor and learned how to shoot and learned about guns a lot because that's what people were interested in. And eventually, I mean, there are a lot of guns sold in this country. And a lot of them are sold to women, especially in the last, I'd say, 10 or 15 years. And eventually the industry recognized that that was an important part of their bread and butter. And so I used that. But it took a while to establish credibility. I really had to do it on their terms, not mine. On the government side, the products are much more technical, so I could be a technical person, but I still had to be very energetic. I was constantly jumping on planes and going on to DC to tromp around the Hill with a lobbyist. I was constantly going to military bases. So you really have to get out there in front of the people and hear them. You're co-developing product with them. I was taking engineers with me continuously. So again, you know, back to Munji's point, you have to provide value to the customer, but you have to do it on their terms, and you have to establish credibility on their terms.
Great. Leslie, as a businesswoman from a financial background running a highly technical organization, what skills would you say helped you establish your business and run it successfully?
Well, given my educational background, I would say one of the key learnings from economics and business is the importance of cash flow. So I think that for all the other stuff, you need the cash and you need to know how to manage that in order to get through all these ups and downs of launching and starting a business. So that would be number one. But I think the other thing that's really important is you've got to be comfortable with risk taking. And to be an entrepreneur, that's probably the most innate skill you have to have, because I don't know if you can teach that. I was lucky enough to grow up in an entrepreneurial family, and I learned a lot of lessons working with my dad's company in the summers when I worked, and it was an industrial gas business in Birmingham, Alabama in the 60s and 70s. And one of the things that he did and showed me from the very beginning is that in his business, there were women and Blacks, including Black women, in positions of leadership. And you might consider that risky for the time, but for him, it was just good business, even if it cost the company a sale or an investment. And so, in fact, what may be considered risky to one person is, in fact, the best action that you can take for your company. So those are a couple of my thoughts.
Great. Manjari, can you speak to some of the trends in entrepreneurship internationally? What are some of the different challenges and hurdles for tech entrepreneurs outside the United States?
So this is quite an interesting topic, and as you can imagine, as a bit of background, I live in the UK and look at investments primarily in the UK. And at our board meetings, one of the things we're always discussing is when is the right time for the UK-based companies to make their entrance into the US market, and indeed, does that does it make a difference to have a presence in the US, or should they be targeting investors in the US? And as you know, Europe and the US have very different models to investing. You absolutely don't get the large rounds with the larger valuations that the US tends to see here in Europe, and that has a number of different knock-on effects, from dilution considerations for founders to cap tables looking very different to attracting the right kind of talent and salaries. And so these are, I think, challenges that if you're already in the US that you don't look at as much, perhaps, because once you've established in the US, I'm assuming it's a little easier to come across the pond to Europe and other markets, as opposed to European companies trying to make inroads into the US.
Great. So along those lines, Marcia, as part of the leadership of one of the industry's leading organizations, you work with people from all over the world at various stages of their careers. What are some of the challenges you've noticed from different geographic areas, and how are these challenges being addressed?
Well, working with such a broad constituency offers both challenges and opportunities. As we build these programs, we often rely on the help of incredible volunteer rapid action committees, and we pull people from all around the world to look at these programs and help us develop these efforts. And we really try to meet our members where they are and understand their challenges. For example, looking at things like funding or access or some of the cultural and policy challenges we have. We've created grants for women invited speakers to make sure that they have the ability to travel and speak at our meetings, and family care grants for people who have responsibilities when they're attending our meetings. We're launching a new program this year for Black scientists who are publishing in one of our journals for the first time, or waived registration for our meetings for members from emerging market countries. We've got access. We are looking at access issues from a global perspective, and the experience of the pandemic have really supercharged these efforts with online programming. In 2020 alone, we had over 41,000 people from 119 countries take advantage of our technical and professional development webinars and programs. And then there's, the culture and politics are always a challenge. And we provide regular trainings to combat unintended bias or provide skills for ally building or bystander intervention, or even professional development trainings for presenting in English for non-English native speakers. And we partner with other societies on things like our code of conduct and anti-harassment policies, or policies related to human rights and statements on those things. These are just a few of the efforts that we've invested in, and it's a constant learning process, and we're continuing to learn and grow these programs.
So I'm going to direct this next question at Susan, Mundry, and Leslie, and it's a fun one. So I'm going to go around and ask you, what do you see as the hottest new trend in emerging technologies or applications that we will be seeing more of soon? So I'm going to start with Susan. What do you think?
Well, actually, I think it's the combination of technologies that are the most interesting. We're going to see, I like to think about things that are going to change how people look at how they interact with other people, whether it's at work, their families, how they fit in the world, what their role is. And, obviously, artificial intelligence is having a big impact. It's talked about a lot, but we're getting to the point, and we'll get much deeper into not being able to understand where answers come from, and not really being at the controls anymore. And I think that's going to change the way people understand the world, combined with deep fakes on maps and faces and voice and everything else. Trust is going to be a big, big issue in a global economy, because do I know I'm really talking to you guys, or are you some kind of synthetic? CRISPR and the interaction with genetic, I'll just say engineering for short. These things are going to change the way that we trust our values, how our values are changing, combined with the geopolitics. I think that if you try and predict this stuff, it's very difficult. I wouldn't pick out any one technology, but I think the thing is to watch how all these different technologies are growing up, and then look at how they might interact, so that you get a little bit of an idea of what's possible to happen.
Great. Manjari, your thoughts?
So I'm going to approach this in a nearer term and a longer term perspective, because at IP Group, I invest in companies that have underlying technologies of machine learning and artificial intelligence, but I also invest in technologies that have quantum science behind it. So in the near term, I absolutely agree with Susan. There's already a lot of work that is happening on how we can make machine learning algorithms auditable, and can we at least get to a point where at least partially the decision that has been reached, how it can be explained, or can we understand where the biases are in the underlying data, so that we can actually remove those biases. And then in the longer term, quantum computing is a completely different type of computing to the classical computer. We have, photonics, we have silicon, we have superconducting, all of which are trying to create the quantum computer. And some of the applications are just mind-boggling. The fact that we might be able to solve the traveling salesman problem, an optimization problem that still can't be really solved by classical computers. So I think it's just going to be really exciting the next decade or so to see all these technologies come forth.
Great. Leslie, what do you see?
Yeah, I'm kind of immersed in the details of the life sciences space right now, and I think this idea of technologies coming together is really driving a lot of the innovation. And for example, one of the hottest areas in the life sciences today is an area called Spatiolomix, which is a form of spatial biology looking at proteomics and genomics and what they, and we all know it was considered, nature saw it as their 2020 method of the year. And if COVID has shown us many things, but one of the things that it's also highlighted is this importance that in understanding the origins of disease. And understanding the origins is essential to developing effective therapeutics to treat them. And so Spatiolomix enables scientists to study at the RNA level of tissues and cells, and how everything is going on in our body, whatever that disease or that challenge is. And I think this idea of knowing more, understanding at the detail, it's kind of the opposite of the AI sort of figuring it out for us. I see at the other end of the spectrum, all this emerging technology of which optics is a critical component in many of the instruments, because it's blending engineering with the biology, and you have to do those together. And then the AI, you can say, takes it to the next level. But it's all together. It's going to be very hard to be just one of these, I think.
Great. So I'm going to go around, starting with Marcia, and ask you the quick question. So please offer one piece of advice to new entrepreneurs. Start with Marcia.
I would say don't underestimate the power of allies. You know, there's resources out there that can help, and sharing tools and lessons learned, and just knowing you don't have to go down the road alone can be both helpful and empowering.
Great. Leslie.
Well, I would say dream big, work smart, and take care of yourself.
Great. Manjari.
I would say find people who have done this before at this phase you are at, because starting off is very different from raising your Series B, and you really can't have enough advice to how to do it in the most effective way. So find people who've done it before.
Great. Susan.
Well, so we've heard a bunch about networking, network or die, and cash is king, and so on. And those are definitely true. But I think I would offer one that I've learned from military leaders. I spend a lot of time with 3 and 4 stars. And I think that, it applies in business as well, especially when you have challenges. And that is to bring your whole self to work. As a leader, you must be in a good place in your family life, your personal life, if you're going to lead other people. And if you can't be in a good place, you got to take a step aside and figure that out, so that you can be clear when you go into the fray. Because everybody is looking at you as the leader. You're in the spotlight.
Fabulous. So I want to thank you, all of our panelists, for such an enlightening conversation. We are so grateful that you could join us today, and that was some excellent advice from all 4 of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
And now back to our teams. At nearly 5,000 feet above sea level, Longmont, Colorado is home to some spectacular views and spectacular vision in its innovators. That includes Longmont-based Momentum Optics. It's now developing a technology that enables rapid fabrication of technically challenging optics at 5 times faster production and 10 times lower cost.
Momentum Optics is developing a smart manufacturing tool to make optics faster and more affordable. Currently, if you want to order optics, you typically have a wait time of about 6 to 8 weeks. And the market trend has been for shorter and shorter development cycles for products, but optics manufacturing has not kept pace with that trend, creating a compelling need for faster optics. The number of industries that this impacts is vast. Everyone from automotive to aerospace needs optical components. Our primary customer are the research and development engineers and scientists. The research and development engineers and scientists need faster optics. They need customized parts to fit their particular experiments or their particular product development requirements. So far, there's been a large amount of interest in the technology. A lot of companies have approached us and asked if we could make some very difficult optics that they've been trying to make for a while but have no other way of making those optics. We've developed this smart manufacturing tool, and it's based on a laser process, which is a large deviation from what's currently being done. So we use this laser process that projects an image onto a glass surface and allows us to make optics over a glass wafer. So it's wafer level optics, but it's faster and more affordable than, for example, CNC machining or diamond turning. The technology itself uses a lot of different sciences. So we have physics in there, chemistry, we've got electromagnetics, we've got high-powered lasers, we've got thermodynamics. So it's a very complex system. So we're very heavy on the technology side, so we needed help with business development. And Luminate offers a masterclass in how to develop a company from the ground up. They're showing us that there's more to just having a great technology. You also have to have a great strategy and business plan. If you're an optics or photonics company, there's no other accelerator out there that can match what Luminate can do. Our guiding vision is to make a positive impact in this world. Optics are found everywhere, and we feel like through optics, you can really make this world a better place.
The question we get most from startups is, how do I raise money? Here is Teresa Mazzullo, CEO of Excel Partners. With a 30-year track record in business, finance, and entrepreneurship, she has some great advice.
Thank you, Sujatha. Building a venture network is a long game. You want to form meaningful relationships rather than making a transaction. Studies show that founders who fundraise successfully are great at building relationships. So start by using your own network, obviously, then ask your friends to make introductions to their network. When selecting which venture firms to go to, be strategic. Only go to those VCs who have a track record in your industry and the investment stage at which you are currently, whether it's seed, round A, B, or whatever. Your approach, one strategy that's suggested is called the pre-pitch strategy, where you make the call and simply say, we're not ready to raise money just yet, and we're probably too early for you, but I think this is something you might be interested in. Then, once you have their attention, be brief, but be compelling. Show results, customer traction, growth, hitting milestones, whatever. After that pre-pitch, follow up. And this is where most people fail. Send regular updates about your business, but only if you have something to report. No progress? Don't report. You'll only annoy them. Leave them wanting to know more about you and your technology. Your goal is to get another appointment so that when you are ready to ask for funds and fundraise, that door will be open for you. By the way, you will need to allow 6 to 12 months in advance of your fundraising campaign. So start building those relationships today, and good luck.
Thank you, Teresa. Now, let's turn our attention to Montreal, Canada, which has been showing the world how to be a good host for decades, from the 1976 Olympics and the Canadian Grand Prix to the International Jazz Festival. Merci, Montreal, for the inspiration. It's also home to One Silicon Chip Photonics, OSCP. This is a startup building inertial measurement units and inertial navigation systems for the autonomous vehicle market. The firm has developed a way to integrate multiple accelerometers and gyroscopes onto a single chip.
The name of our company is One Silicon Chip Photonics, or OSCP. Current high-end IMUs are bulky and expensive. The manufacturing process is very labor-intensive. The product is not scalable. How we solve it is we use fully automated robots during the manufacturing process. So there is a minimum labor involved. We are integrating photonics component on a single chip so that we can produce thousands of these sensors on the single wafer at the same time instead of processing one at a time. That reduces the cost and increases the scalability of the product. Our product can be used in any moving object that requires precise navigation. Right now, we are only focusing on autonomous drones and autonomous cars. It has a vast potential for any cases where we need to precisely navigate. Our technology is going to benefit drone manufacturers and tier 1 autonomous car suppliers.
Now we can provide a product which is more accurate but at a lower cost. We are designing and simulating the product ourselves, and then we outsource it for fabrication. So the optical components, the circuit boards, the electronics we have fabricated, get them shipped back, we assemble them and test them and package them, and then we'll ship them to the client. With our technology, with recent advances in photonic integrated circuits, we feel that we can take a couple zeros off the price and get comparable performance. This opens up the technology to sales in new emerging markets that would not otherwise be able to afford the accurate and affordable IMUs. Luminate has provided us with access to expertise in the area of photonics, and we're exposed to VCs and investors in that area. So we've basically raised the consciousness of the world to what OSCP brings to the market right now.
We are going to be the leader of inertial sensors technology, staying ahead of competition by constantly innovating and improving our product.
Next, we have all autonomous imaging. We're proud to welcome a finalist with ties to Luminate's hometown, with facilities in Rochester and California. OWL's patented 3D Thermal Ranger provides HT thermal imaging with precision ranging, representing a 200 times improvement in resolution and cloud density over LiDAR.
At OWL Autonomous Imaging, we're all about safety. We use thermal imaging and custom thermal ranging software that allow us to detect pedestrians and range to them and locate them for autonomous automobiles so that we can have automatic emergency braking for pedestrians and to save lives.
Adding a thermal camera to an automobile for safety purposes extends the range of operation over using just visual cameras.
There are lots of low-light cameras, but thermal imaging is a no-light camera. So it can see pedestrians, it can see cars, it can see buildings at night with absolutely no light.
We combined an advanced thermal imaging camera with custom optics and artificial intelligence machine learning software to produce a 3D thermal image for use in automobiles to make driving safer.
We're an input to the system to tell it where there's a threat. The car will decide, hey, there's a pedestrian or animals, and either steer away from it or brake. Radar and LiDAR have difficulty with pedestrians between parked cars because they see the car first and they don't see the pedestrian. And because we're thermal, pedestrians really pop out of the image. There's no difficulty finding pedestrians or deer behind bushes. Anything that's warm-bodied just really pops out of the images. Our main target market is automotive, ADAS, and AV, but it also could be applied to other existing markets such as first responders, firefighters, and search and rescue.
Illuminate has helped us extend our contact base to the right people at the right time and make sure that the support mechanisms that we can bring to bear in the community are maximized, and that's invaluable.
Obviously, it's always a good thing if you can save a life.
Today, in the United States alone, 6,000 pedestrians will be killed by cars. 76% of those pedestrians will be struck in poor lighting conditions, so nighttime or dusk or dawn. And the numbers are not decreasing. We solve that problem. We save lives. We save lots of lives.
As each of our teams head into the finals judging process, the stress and pressure mounts. Here's Sabrina Fogler to share a tip on managing anxiety. She's a mindfulness coach in private practice at Heart in Moment Mindfulness Coaching.
Thanks, Sujatha. It's the most powerful state that we can discover on this human journey when we remember that each new moment offers the ability to choose our response. And when we make that choice, we create space between what lies in front of us and how we react. So we take a step back, away from it all. We breathe deeply and we choose how we want to show up. And that is when we access the life we were born to live. So here's to making that choice today.
That tip is something we can all use every day. Thank you, Sabrina. Let's jump to Portland, Oregon. With its extraordinary range of arts, culture, and causes, Portland is a city that inspires all kinds of passions, including those of inventors like Preact Technologies. This company's TrueSense sensors make it possible to angle car seats away, deploy airbags earlier, and raise the car suspension just before the crash occurs to vastly reduce injuries and deaths.
With current airbag technology, it deploys after the crash 40 or 50 milliseconds with accelerometers. The problem with that is it's very binary, either deploys or it doesn't deploy. What we do at Preact is we are developing continuous wave time-of-flight technology that can detect an imminent collision. The technology that we're developing is this continuous wave time-of-flight. It's a camera-based solution that operates in the near IR. And with that technology, we can sense depth, speed, and location of all the objects around with millimeter accuracy. And with that reliability, we can determine how severe the crash is going to be, what airbags to deploy, and what restraint systems need to be developed. With our technology, we can essentially allow intelligent airbag deployment happen. We can change the variable rate of how much airbag needs to inflate to type of size of the airbag, because we're all different sizes, we're all different people, from short to tall to skinny and overweight. And we need essentially a personalized response with that. And to do that, you need a unique camera that can reliably detect what kind of crash you're about to get into. And you need that because, of course, you want your airbags to be very reliable. The last thing you want is an airbag to falsely deploy. And so our technology brings that reliability and opens that Pandora box about what can we do with pre-crash and so forth. So really taking an industry that's been dormant for the last 20 or 30 years on airbags and seatbelts and kind of flipping it upside down. We had some traction, we had a product, but we didn't know where we were going to go. We knew that the future held was continuous wave time of flight, but how do we take that to a grand scale? How do we really go after the market? How do we build a standalone company that's no longer a startup, but really like a technology enabler company? That's what Luminate enabled us to do. We're super excited about the Rochester region as well. You know, coming here and visiting and touring the facilities and the talent here, just immensely impressed. And we see ourselves being an enabler for the economy here. We see this as the future for sure, because if you look at fatalities and injuries that are happening today, it's only been going up. And so automakers are starting to realize that we need to develop this pre-crash technology, which Preact is the industry leader on. If our work can just save one life, then I feel like I've done my job here on this planet. We work tirelessly day in, day out to try to build a company that can really go after this grave problem.
Our final tip of the day is from Illuminate board chair Don Galini, who is a successful entrepreneur, angel investor, and consultant at Seneca Ventures.
Hi, yes. I've had the pleasure of getting to know all the teams this year, and it's just an amazing cohort. I'm going to talk a little bit about the main tasks once you've raised your money. And, you know, I think it breaks into three main areas. One is executing on the product. You have to get that product finished now. You have to build and expand your team in many cases. And ultimately, you have to sell your product. And those are kind of the three main focus areas for the founder. You know, developing the product, this, as you know, requires having a deep understanding of product market fit. And we talk a lot about customer discovery when we talk about business planning and at the accelerator. And many founders, I find, see this kind of as an academic exercise where you kind of just have to check the box, talk to a bunch of customers. But it's really crucial to your success. You need to know exactly how your product solves your customer's pain point. And then your team has to be intensely focused on delivering that product. So you should be talking to your customers throughout the development of the product and listening to and reacting to feedback to ensure that when the product's done, it's the right product. One of the biggest challenges I find is that The founder really has the responsibility of knowing how good is good enough, because for most engineers and software developers, the product can always be better. And it's your job to take the burden off of your team by taking the responsibility to know when the product is ready to go to the market. In terms of building your team, my experience is the team's going to make or break you. And that includes your employees, your professional services, and your advisors. So you need to aim to recruit a world-class team in all categories. And that's going to require sometimes getting out of your comfort zone, recruiting people who aren't necessarily looking for a job. A lot of times those A-team players, they're working somewhere else. And you need to be able to sell your idea and your concept in a way that is very compelling. So ultimately, you want to build your network and recruit the best people that you've ever worked with. And you want to ask your co-founders and early employees to do the same thing, because you want to really expand the network as much as possible. And then once your team's in place, you have to retain them. And in my experience, constant, clear communication is really essential to keep that team motivated. Lastly, you have to be selling. Without sales, you really don't have a business. So in the early days, in my opinion, no one can sell or will sell as effectively as the founder. So I always ask founders, where are your first customers, 10 customers coming from, or who's going to close the first $1 million in revenue? And in my opinion, for most startups, the only right answer is that the founder will be personally doing the selling. It's just not a job that you can outsource. So I hope that's helpful, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thanks, Don. Let's move on to voting. Now is your chance to weigh in and pick who goes home with the Audience Choice Award and $10,000. Using your cell phone, you can text in your vote. Simply go to your messaging function on your phone, text the word finals to the following number, 877-960-0119, 877-960-0119. A message from Illuminate will pop up asking you which startup has your vote. Reply with the number for your favorite company. That's it. But remember, you can only vote once. While you're casting your vote, I want to encourage any entrepreneurs who are watching today to consider applying for a place in Cohort 5. This is Illuminate's application process. It is open now. If you have a startup that is building technology that is enabled by optics, photonics, or imaging, please consider applying. Stay on after this event to learn more on how to apply. Okay, so we are concluding our voting period. So let's turn our attention to our 2021 recipients. The Honorable Achievement Award and $200,000 in follow-on funding goes to Owl Autonomous Imaging. Congratulations to the founders Chuck Gershman and Jean Patilli and their team. The Distinguished Graduate Award and $250,000 in funding goes to Mesodyne. Congratulations to co-founders Dr. Veronica Stolmach and Dr. Walker Chan and their team. We have another Distinguished Graduate Award with $250,000. That goes to CEO and co-founder Mohan Thanikachalam and his family. The Outstanding Graduate Award and $400,000 in follow-on investment goes to Luca Technologies. Congratulations to CEO Nick Davey and his team. Okay, so I see we have the Audience Choice Award in. $10,000, and the Audience Choice Award goes to Larometrics. And finally, the Company of the Year and $1 million goes to Preact Technologies. Congratulations to CEO Paul Drish and his team. I can see an enthusiastic team there. What an incredible year for these 10 brilliant startups. I am so proud of each and every one of them. They've come to Rochester from so many places because they recognize what we can do for them here, and it is really an honor to recognize them in return. As we've heard a little about each entrepreneur's city of origin, what strikes me most is that Rochester has drawn dreamers from some of the most vibrant, inventive, inspiring places on earth. If you know anything about Rochester, it should come as no surprise. This place has long been a source of world-changing ideas. Today, Metro Rochester itself is home to 150 optics, photonics, and imaging companies, and Luminate is helping dozens of them, and many more of them, get a start right here. And we thank our New York Photonics cluster for their help with that. I encourage you to get to know Luminate better. Subscribe to our monthly newsletter. The lens is at luminate.org. Following the continuing stories of these amazing startup companies, and take in some more advice. Don't forget to stay with us for the next 15 minutes to learn about Luminate's application process and deadlines from Director of Operations, Andy Simon. Thank you for joining us today, and here's to 2022. Come on in, Andy.
Great, thank you, Sujatha. And I too would like to congratulate the entire cohort, as it has been an outstanding group to work with, and we will continue to work with regardless of today's outcomes. That is the Luminate difference. We are active investors, sometimes even starting before you apply, then during and post-program. As we always say, once in Luminate, always in Luminate. To that end, we'd like you to be part of our next cohort, and I'm here to tell you how. Additionally, I can answer any questions in the live chat. To open the chat, click the 3 dots on the right and choose Pop Out. Let me start with the requirements to apply to Luminate. You must be incorporated with at least 2 full-time team members working on the business. We're looking for tech that has been proven outside, let me get that back, proven outside the lab, so we accept lab scale companies up to companies with products already in the marketplace and sales. We need to have C-level members be able to participate in Rochester over the 6-month program. For this upcoming cohort, we are designing a hybrid model where the majority of the program is remote, with 1 week per month on site in Rochester, or if we have investor pitches, we might use that week to be in Boston or San Francisco, wherever the pitches take place. For Rochester, it can be a rotating decision level team member. Say, for example, we are focusing on sales and pitches 1 week, that would be the best to have the CEO attend. Maybe the following month, we're working on tech and manufacturing, so it might be the CTO that joins us that week. Whatever role would have the most impact in attending is the best choice for the business. I would like to note that teams have desks and benefits for the entire program, so if you want to be here more than 1 week a month, great. We'd love to have you come as much as possible. And then we accept teams worldwide and have had a number of follow-on investments in non-US based teams. However, teams must coordinate any work visas needed, as we cannot assist with that. So before continuing, I'd like to discuss COVID and our plans. Things on the ground might change, or travel restrictions might be enacted. So these are the plans as of today. We understand this, and we'll iterate the model based on the facts on the ground. Now let's go over the application process. Applying to Luminate is easy. Just go to our website, luminate.org, and there's an apply button right on our homepage. Our application is hosted on F6S, which handles a number of different accelerators, so you might already have a profile on the platform. If you do not, just fill out your profile with the details of your company, structure, technology, and business. We then ask for a quick 1 to 2 minute video where we'd like to have the founder or founders tell us about their business in their own words. What is the problem you're solving, your solution, and why is it unique? Then finally, why do you want to be in Illuminate? The video can be done using your cell phone. We do not care about production quality, just the content. And if you have a demo, definitely add that in as well, because once done, submit. All right, let's go over the timeline. Someone advance the slide. There we go. Okay, so applications are open now and they close on January 10th. In February, we host our lightning round where we down select the semifinalists that present to our board. And let me add that if you have not yet had a chance, go to our website, check out the advisory board, as they are all world-recognized leaders in optics, photonics, and imaging. After the semifinal pitches, we down select to the 10 teams accepted to be part of Luminate Cohort 5. who receive an additional $100,000 investment to participate in the program. We kick off the cohort in early April, and with the $2 million finals round next September. So that's a quick overview of the process and what we're looking for, and I'm now happy to answer any questions you have in the chat. Again, to join the chat, click the 3 dots on the right-hand side and choose pop-up. All right, so questions coming in. Yes, we accept teams from all over the world, and we understand with COVID that there is travel challenges. We're hopeful that that's going to be easing up at some point. But as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we fund teams all over the world, and we've had follow-on funding winners from multiple countries. Next question we have here. What industry and types of technology are you looking for? Well, we're looking for anything that is optics, photonics, or imaging, or enabling that imaging, or photonics and optics. A good example would be VPG Medical, one of our winners from cohort 2. They use a cell phone camera straight off the shelf in their camera, and they are able to read health data based on looking at their skin and different reactions internally. So they're not using the optics of the camera, but it's enabling their software to do their solution. So besides something like that, of course, anything that touches optics, photonics, whether it's parts manufacturing, supply chain, we are able to assist. How much non-grant funding can an applicant have raised? Also, is there a revenue limit? Most of our companies, I would say, have SBIR grants or other non-dilutive grant funding, so we actually encourage that. Nothing better from a business perspective to have non-dilutive funding. We do not have a limit on that, and we do not have a limit on money raised. As you've seen, we have some companies that are in Series A round right now, and then some that are in seed round. So we run the gamut from all the different stages. What type of investment are you making and how much? We do an initial $100,000 investment, and that usually comes in the form of a safe note. We understand that you might already be out raising or in the middle of a round. So then what happens is we'll look at that document that you have for a term sheet from your lead investor, and most likely we'll just follow along with those terms. We've never had an issue with investments in teams. So we definitely work together and collaborative to make sure that we're making an investment that makes your company stronger. Let's see. Can you participate in other accelerators at the same time? I wouldn't recommend that. We've had 1 or 2 companies over the past 4 years do that, and they found it to be very stressful. Your time is going to be pulled to each one, and by giving only half your time to an accelerator, you have no chance of really winning any follow-on funding. So I highly recommend picking the accelerator that you think works best for you and gives you the most benefit, and putting all your attention and focus there. If we are incorporated in Russia, do we need to have company in the US? As mentioned, we take companies worldwide. We understand that your headquarters are going to be located in Sweden, Russia, France. We're not asking you to move your headquarters over here. And initially, we're not asking you to open up any US operations. For our initial $100,000 investment, that is to come and participate in Luminate. What we do hope that'll happen is, one, you get follow-on funding, and that we become a soft landing for your company to come over from overseas. You're basically being able to be handheld in a nice way to opening up corporate offices and start branching out from your home country. To qualify, is there a minimum requirement on the level of hardware tech demonstration? We need the tech to be out, past lab scale. So you don't necessarily have to have products in the marketplace. You don't even have to have your demo done, but you have to be past the lab, because we really are not going to be able to help you as much, and you won't be able to gain as much from what the program offers if it's not at that stage. That being said, we also take companies that have products that are already in the marketplace and already have sales and distribution channels. So we do run the gamut from true startup, early stage startup, to Series A and growth. Let's see. It says, what industries and types of technology? I think I already answered that one. Let's see, last question. I'm not sure our company is a good fit. Is there anyone I can talk to get more information? Well, that's a great question. Yes, if you send an email to info@luminate.org, someone on our team will be sure to get back in touch with you, and we can have one-on-one conversations by email, by Zoom, and answer any questions that you have. So that's it. Thank you very much for participating and joining our event today. Again, if you have any questions, email info@luminate.org, and we look forward to seeing your application come through.